Hello, this is Justin, and welcome back to Mental Health and Addiction YouTube channel, episode 12. This is probably going to be a long one, so get comfortable. I may do this in 2 segments if I need to, but anyway, let's start the topics for episode 12. And I just want to touch base with you guys before I get into this too far. I apologize for having, again, 2 or 3 weeks between videos. My boyfriend had gallbladder removal surgery, and I've also been going through some of my own mental health problems. And so I ask for your patience with understanding my own mental health issues, because I'm living in this world too. And it's hard to make your way sometimes. But the topics for today, episode 12, and this might be a little bit of a scattershot episode. There's a lot to cover, and again, as I've said, I've been having some problems thinking, so I'm going to do my best, but I told you guys I would be back. So, episode 12, topics: how to be part of the solution. If you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And when I say the solution, I don't mean a solution. There's the solution, the solution. We'll get into something like that later. And I'm not talking about any one issue, any problem, how to be a part of that solution. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other stuff like generational gaps, perceptions between generations of the same things. We're going to talk about what America wants versus what America needs. We're also going to talk about how, as I said before, people can view the same thing and get a completely different read on it, and why that's dangerous. People need to really understand what they're doing, including when they're voting, and understanding what they believe that vote to mean when they cast it, that ballot. There's misinformation about so much, and there just seems to be some denials on one side, just like nothing to see here. I don't know. It's difficult. But what America wants versus what America needs, what equality means for our country versus what it really means versus what fear-mongering tactics have made some people possibly believe that it could mean, such as the disenfranchisement of white people. That's not going to happen. It's just not. What's going on with the protests, and with everyone blaming the protesters for damaging stuff? Well, I've got news for you. That's not, by and large, that is not the protesters themselves. That's the topic. We're going to talk about, if I can talk, monuments, history, whitewashing of history, Texas history, and American history. I know that a lot of people have very strong opinions about certain things. I'm just here to give you guys my view. I'm not telling anybody, yet that you're wrong, but, there's just monuments that, like the monuments of, we'll get into that. They belong in a museum. Okay, so, citing violence and protesters committing acts of violence and property damage. We're going to talk about who's really doing that. Education. We're going to talk about education, public school education, private school education, college education, and why certain prerequisites, such as Texas history, is required in all Texas colleges in order to get your degree. I'll tell you why. Mental illnesses and statistics from the National Institute for Mental Health. I'm also going to talk about our frustrations and difficulties in everyday life with mental health during the pandemic, with extreme division, unlike any we've probably seen in any of our lifetime, for Americans anyway, these difficulties. How are we going to get through this? How and why you matter? Pointing at you, trying to point at you, me. Why do we matter? And how you matter. Good-hearted people, empaths, people who are just able to express their humanity selflessly, may have a little bit of harder life because they have that heart. However, if we go ahead and I'm sorry, I'm not thinking straight, but if we can, good-hearted people, sorry. If we have more people who are going to be like, okay, yeah, this is freaking ridiculous. We've got a, I don't know how many feet tall that ridiculous statue is. They're just looking up, and this great divider is at the top of this giant statue from the Confederacy. And there's no reason to put him on a pedestal, and he's literally on one. Can't reach it. Anyway, this stuff is... anyway, but if we treat society like they matter, society will be more calm. They'll be less desperate. They'll be happy. There will be less crime. It just it's common sense. I don't care if you guys agree with it or not. Tear the statues down. It offends most people. The fact that you want to defend a statue like that, let's go defend it and put it in a museum. That's fine. Put it into a place where we can have context. Oh my God, I've got an ignorant neighbor over here yelling Black Lives Don't Matter. She's fucking drunk. I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh my God. Okay. The importance of self-love, as Tanya TKO's show talks about, and of doing the hard and difficult things and the work of getting to our core issues ourselves so that they can be addressed however they need to be therapeutically but effectively. We can't ignore our core issues when we're trying to improve ourselves, including with mental health, addiction, generally, with what's going on in the world. And I will be talking about mental health in context of everything that's going on. The country, the way people are acting, society, it can't be disconnected. It just can't be. And another subject will be, what should we be able to know? What we should be able to know now if we apply what we know about history and World War II and how it began to what's happening now. Modern day concentration camps on our southern border, not on the northern border. That's not racist. All right. Mental illness in America. Look at what we've seen on the news. It's, I've been in tears worrying for my country and seeing where my country is going. And I say my country because it is my country and it's your country too. And you should feel like it's your country, but don't forget that it's other people's country and it does not only belong to you. There are 330-something million people here who want to have a decent life and access to anything that they qualify for, that everyone else qualifies for, without being given a bunch of hoops to jump through to get to the same places in society where others... I've talked about white privilege. And the term white privilege seems to connotate a very negative emotion in white people, because they seem to get the impression that you're telling them that what they did, the work they did to get wherever they got, they were lazy and they didn't earn it. And that's not what it means. It means that you worked to get your whatever, but there's a segment of people who can work that hard also and not be recognized. There are still racist policies written into laws, written into, the way they do loans, redlining. I'm going to post a bunch of links, you guys. I'm going to post some links about redlining, about Jim Crow laws. I'm going to post a lot of links. And I am gonna have to make this 2 episodes. I have a lot more stuff to do, but redlining. Okay, that's one link I'm gonna do. Redlining, Jim Crow laws. I'm gonna post a little bit about whitewashing of American history. And did you guys know that the 1865 Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves, supposedly, at that time in 1865, was only ratified in the state of Mississippi for some reason? When do you think that was done? 1900, maybe 1960 something, maybe 70. No, it's 2013. Barely 7 years ago. How far have we really come? Please subscribe. I'll be back.